Hey y'all, happy Friday. Happy Friday, or whatever day of the week it is for you that you land across this video. It's March 21st, 2025. I've got some good things on the agenda today. I'm taking my 9-year-old daughter on a college tour to Spelman. I want to plant that seed in her with it not only being in HBCU, but an all-girls school. Get this, I told her it was all-girls school and she was excited. She's like, oh, so it doesn't have boys there? Good, because I don't want to have to deal with boys. I'm like, yes. I just hope she feels that way when she gets to middle school and high school. But yeah, so I wanted to share the experience I had when I attended the Bozoma St. John Badass Workshop. But before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. All right, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Not necessarily in that order. Your girl's trying to get circulated out here in this algorithm, so much appreciated. All right, so it was held here in Atlanta, the Badass Workshop, at the Thompson located in Buckhead. Parking, I was able to find parking pretty good, so I already looked at that as a blessing. I didn't have to pay for valet or pay for parking. It was literally parking down the street on like in front of a person's home, so on a residential street. And I walked like maybe less than, I want to say 500 feet or whatever. So anywho, just kind of going over the spirit of what led into the workshop. So then once I got there, walked in, was greeted by, I believe it was 2 of her assistants, one of them being Candace. Candace, I think, is her chief of staff. I think I didn't know this, but there were 2 women that walked in before me and they were like, oh, let's take a picture of the sign. So I was cute to take a picture of the sign too, but turns out those were her sisters. Now I don't know which one, because she has 3 sisters, but yeah, those were her sisters, because they sat at the front, and when she was speaking she was referencing like her sisters, and she looked at them and I was like, oh, those are the 2 ladies that were at the entrance. All right, so she had a nice spread. She had some good food. I mean, if you've seen the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and you see how she gets down, that's no surprise that she had good food. Even for, an event for only 2 hours, she had good cocktail food. Sat down, got my seat. She comes in. She walked in to Walk It Out. I forget who sings the song, but Walk It Out. She had on this nice little, like, white cocktail dress, V-cut, this beautiful like full afro, curly afro. Makeup was beat. She had on some bad zebra boots, some stiletto zebra boots. Okay, girlfriend was looking good. And she okay, so she says she's 6 feet, but she didn't look 6 feet to me in person. She looked like she's maybe 5'10", 6 feet with heels, but she's not as big or tall as people would think in person. But she's beautiful. She's definitely a stallion. Gorgeous woman. Chocolate skin. I mean, she's amazing. So she just started out by speaking about her career and the things that she's encountered and just her approach to life. She spoke about the reunion, that she's gonna intentionally wear kente cloth instead of brand designers, because if you all know, she's very intentional about showcasing Black businesses and Black owned and just the Black community in general. So I was like, okay, that doesn't surprise me that she's wearing a kente dress or a kente garb at the reunion. So I can't wait to see that. The reunion hasn't aired yet. She also touched on 3 things. There were 3 points that she gave for someone to have in their toolbox for them to achieve success and really be like rooted in pursuing their success. Before I get into those, she said some interesting things about putting yourself first, and how she's had that conversation with her daughter, that even before her daughter, she comes first, because she said her daughter needs to put herself first in her life. She said it's not a matter of selfishness. It's just a matter of you have to make sure you are happy first before you try to make someone else happy. Because she mentioned in one of the points I'm going to tell you why that's important. So the first point she said was you have to have a contract with your destiny. You have to have a covenant with your destiny. You basically have to set a vision for yourself, right? Be rooted in your relationship with God, of course, but set a vision or a path for yourself. You know, even if it doesn't work out the way that you want, you have to structure something, a goal, long-term, short-term, something, so that you can walk a path. And then if you lead and you go down that path, who knows what you can run into. So she mentioned it is very, very important to have that covenant with your destiny, and don't compromise it for anyone. She also spoke about, and you've seen me say this many a times, how important it is to lean into your intuition. You have to lean into your intuition. You have to trust your word, right? You have to trust that if you have that covenant and you have that relationship with God, that your gut is going to guide you. And if you read her book, which if you look on my channel, I'm recapping the book, she has mentioned different times in her life where she's had to just go off of her intuition based off of what someone else was trying to advise her on. And it's taken her down, you know, the road to success. Look at her. Look at her. This one, now this one was, I was like, yes. Because it gets tricky. It really, really, really forces you to honor that covenant and trust your intuition for this third point. This third point she mentioned was don't be the consequence of someone else's unfulfilled life. Don't attach yourself to people, you know, just to be attached, right? Because if they're not in alignment with their covenant and they don't have that contract and they're not reinforcing it in their life, if they're not happy, right? If they're lost, if it's whatever, and you attach yourself, that could throw you off. That could throw you off of your path. So I like to see that. I like to hear that from her because she was raised, you know, in an African household, and with other cultures, African culture being one of them, different, you know, cultures within the African cultures. But what I've noticed is they are very holistic, like they're more of a collective versus individualistic. And so I like that she had the foresight to still maintain the values within that collective family dynamic, but she's always pursued life individually. And I think that's what's, you know, enabled her to have the success that she's had. Because yes, some people would say, okay, it's selfish, but no, she's not a selfish person. Like, to this day, she still takes care of her family, right? And she, at 26 in her book, because I'm recapping the book, so you'll learn this, but at 26, she ended up having to take care of her father, and that was the first year she was married. So, and I think today, like I said, she's still taking care of her family. So anywho, I thought that was interesting because that's kind of how I'm thinking now. Like, I didn't always think like that. Like, I was kind of selfish. I was kind of selfish back in the day. And it was because I was coming from a place of survival. You know, I had such a traumatic upbringing that it was sink or swim and only for me. But now, as I get older, I do like to look out for the people around me. That's where the generosity comes from. You know, every time I'm with my family, I try to make sure everybody's good. We go out to dinner, I'll foot the bill. Like, I'm like planning trips. My friends, I look out for them. Like, I believe that God is going to bless me so that I can bless others. That way, you know, you can't hang on to this stuff, you know, when you leave. Granted, you still have to be smart because, again, be in line with your covenant. You come first. So don't just be like blowing your money on everyone. But, you know, if you have resources, share them. But don't let people take advantage of you. Do not let people take advantage of you. So anywho, so then she spoke about a little bit about how she's representing, like what she represents on Housewives. And this is what drew me to her, because I watched Housewives a lot when I was younger, but like over the last few years, I haven't really been watching it. I listen to recaps here and there, and I keep up in the media about what's going on, but I hadn't watched it. However, I learned about her and I was like, oh, I like this lady, and then what she represents, because she is one of the first. There have been successful like career type women on the franchises. Phaedra Parks, she's an attorney. I was impressed by her when she showed up on Atlanta, because I was a big fan of Phaedra due to that. Dr. Wendy Osefo, she was the first doctor outside of Married to Medicine that appeared on the Housewives franchise. And I also respect Wendy. Matter of fact, I'm going to be recapping her book, so look out for that. And then Bozoma comes in, and she doesn't necessarily have like a professional degree, because she only has her BA, but her professional career, this lady was a SVP. She was a CMO. Like, she's in C-suite within marketing, and she's not even 50. Right? She's achieved all of this. She was an assistant to Spike Lee. So she's been great on her own, not to mention her personal story, let alone her professional story, because I'm also a corporate person. So that's representation in one bucket for me. Then she married to a white man. So the troubles and, the things that come up being in an interracial relationship, and the backstory on how she ended up into an interracial relationship. She had wanted to date black men. She just never stumbled across one that matched her efforts or was willing to treat her right. So she loved who loved her, and that's the same thing with me. And then now being a widow. Now that is where I was lost, because I they say you plan and then God laughs in your face. When I tell you I was not expected to be a 39-year-old widow, I was not expecting that. So I was lost. I put that mask on because you have to, right? Women in general, we pick it up. We especially when you got a lot that's counting on you, we don't have time to sit back and wallow in self-pity. But I was broken. And I did not know what to expect. I didn't know what was ahead of me. So when she showed up, it gave me almost like a reinvigoration and inspiration, and telling me, okay, life's going to be okay. This woman, she went through the same thing you went through, and then look at her. So some people may say, well, that's kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. No, sometimes we need to see representation to put everything back into perspective, right? We do, because like I said, I was lost. I look to examples, to show me, okay, what's the path? I make my own way, but you got to have examples. You got to have guiding posts. And so she serves as a guiding post right now for this chapter in my life. So she spoke about basically that's what her role is on Beverly Hills, is because all of them represent something, right? But we hadn't seen anything like Bozoma before. And I'm just so glad that she was able to show up on my radar at this time in my life through Beverly Hills Housewives, no less, but she showed up. So then she also kind of spoke about her Sutton. So we'll see how what that turns out to be on the reunion. She answered a lot of questions, some Q&A, and she gave some really good insight. There was one lady that mentioned and asked the question because she had just gotten laid off, and she said, she's at a time in her life where she's always been like go and the assertive person in the room in her career, and she's fought her way through her career, so to have to sit still, like, it's kind of like disillusioning her in a way. And so she asked Bozoma, what advice could you give to someone that is in my position? And Bozoma told her, and I agree with this, sometimes it's good to go, but we have to honor the resting periods. I'm paraphrasing, but the periods where we have to rest, because this is when it's your time to sit down, turn inward, and reflect on what it is that you want to do next. And sometimes we need to have peaceful periods so that we can go back to the drawing board and come back even stronger. And I like that because I agree with that too. I've actually had a couple of periods in my life where I've had to sit down and turn inward. So Yeah, I was totally on board with that. Again, she aligns with a lot of like my principles that I have within me. So it's also, again, good to see someone speak outwardly about these types of things, these topics, these beliefs, these ideals, but also someone that matches, because people have multiple people that they look to because they get little pieces here and there from them. But for Bozoma, for me, I get most of what I need to feed my soul, because like I said, representation through and through. So then we got to the towards the end, and this is when she did the meet and greet and she signed everyone's book. When I got my opportunity to get to her and have her sign my book, I was telling her how I have so much respect for her and I just love her, and she was receptive. She was very nice, and I told her that I was reading her book, and then I showed her the section that I wanted her to sign. And I was telling her, I said, girl, you showed up on my radar at a time where my self-esteem almost wrote a check that my future cannot afford to cash. And the trauma, because like I said, I was not in this recap, but I've mentioned before, I was in a situation that almost took me down. And I made that decision to get into that situation due to the trauma and just me feeling alone and, stuck in what my next step should be. So to see that someone has done it, successfully, she saved me essentially, because I had no qualms about saying deuces to this. I wasn't going to attach to somebody that was not on my level, not going to love me the way that I needed to be loved so that I could be successful, So a lot of women, we get caught up in that. We want to be loyal, stand by our man and, do whatever. But if that man is breaking your spirit, and you already are dealing with so much, it's not your job to save someone that doesn't want to save themselves. So Bozoma, when I told her that, she was like, girl, you just spoke a word. She affirmed me. I said, yeah. I said, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And then we took our picture. She took the book and held it up. And then I gave her a hug and, walked out. And I felt so good. I felt so good. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, if the Badass Workshop is in your town, I do suggest that you attend it, because she is just as vivacious, positive, because I'm big on energy, and I get good energy from her. I got it from her. So yeah, invest that money in yourself if you can. I know with this economy and people got bills to pay, you can only do so much, but don't be afraid to invest in yourself. And that's one of them. Attend a workshop of some sort. If it's not her, something that's always, developing you as an individual. You're never too old to grow and get better, right? You're never too old to evolve, because we're continuously evolving. All right. So with that being said, I'm just going to end it here because I have a meeting that I have to jump into in the next 5 minutes. Thank you so much for coming over here to show me some love and support, okay? And please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. All right, my people. Much love as always. Peace and blessings. Bye.